The rest are still waiting.
I'm very disappointed. I wish he didn't have to work. Just have a little bit of a breather, not have to worry so much for the family.
The consulting firm running the program says all applications received vary in terms of nature, complexity, and several other factors that could impact the timeline for processing. Of the more than 87 million COVID vaccine doses administered in Canada, 21 confirmed cases have been linked to GBS, according to Health Canada, 4 of them in Ontario.
So serious adverse events are extremely rare.
Dr. Karina Top researches vaccine safety and adverse reactions. She says a person is more likely to get GBS from COVID than a vaccine.
They've been monitoring safety of COVID vaccines very closely and shown that these vaccines are very safe.
Caballero still supports vaccines. He's been told his condition likely won't improve much more, but he's hopeful, tracking his progress by his dance steps.
¿Qué es lo que más extraño de antes?
Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
Back to our region now. Upgrades are coming to 4,700 apartment units in Windsor, Essex.
So internally we have the resources in place. COVID has had a tremendous impact on our ability to run projects though. As I mentioned, some of it is supply and material. There's been delays and shortages in that regard. Some of it is worker shortage as well, especially at the beginning. We had to shut down a couple of our work sites and we're working through kind of some of those backlogs. As I mentioned, what we've done initially was some of that planning phase to get our ducks in a row to make sure that we can execute projects on time and run them properly and efficiently to reduce the impacts on our residents.
The joint $172 million investment between the City of Windsor and the federal government will help improve the quality of 730 buildings throughout the region. The money will go toward community housing projects, and that includes upgrading interior and exterior renovations, energy-saving upgrades like kitchen and bathroom repairs, and the projects are set to be completed by 2029. Meanwhile, the downward turn of the local real estate market continues. Prices and sales are dipping to levels we haven't seen in a long time. Average price of a home last month was about $558,000. That's down about $50,000 from the month before, and a drop of about $166,000 from when the market peaked back in March. The number of sales also dramatically down, 393 sales last month. And we haven't seen that since before 2021. I spoke with a local realtor who says he's not surprised by the dip, but he is surprised by how quickly it's dropping. He says it means that we're moving into a more balanced market that caters to buyers. So some people have described this as a healthy rebalancing of a really volatile market, or what was a very volatile market. And so I'm wondering if you can speak to who stands to benefit from these changes right now.
Well, in a balanced market, basically the paradigm shifts from the sellers benefiting to the buyers benefiting. So currently we're seeing more inventory on the market, which means there's more choice for the buyers. And in particular, once average price decreases, the benefit is going to go to the buyers purchasing these homes. So they're the ones that are going to be the beneficiaries in the long run of this market.
And should buyers be buying right now, or what is your advice to them? Should they be waiting for the prices to continue to drop? What would you say to them?
Well, as interest rates rise, your affordability is going to come down. So those buyers that are affluent can afford the choice to wait, and buy at a good time. But generally speaking, most buyers will have to buy now, because if their affordability is affected in the next 6, 8, 9 months, maybe they might be priced out of the market and they're not going to be able to get into the market.
So while buyers stand to benefit, how are sellers doing right now?
So interestingly enough, sellers are also struggling because we're seeing more inventory come on the market, and that gives choice to the buyers. So from an overall spectrum, sellers are definitely struggling. So we're seeing more staging, more videography, photography. But that is not to say that sales aren't happening. It's just they're few and far between. And that just means that your product has to stand out from the rest even more.
Are you seeing more cancellations than before?
Yes, we're certainly seeing more cancellations than before, and this is due to usually unrealistic expectations that the sellers have for their properties. Since we've seen a shift in the average sales price, some of these sellers might think that, their house is worth more than they're expecting in this current market. If you're a seller, this is a great time to sell because you do know that prices are going to come down. So you should get your house ready as quickly as you can and turn it around as quickly as you can because house is typically on the market longer. If you're a buyer, this is a great time to buy because obviously you are getting the benefit of the market. If you wait too long, the interest rate is going to go up, so that's going to cancel out all the gains that you're going to be making in the market. So it's better to buy now knowing that you're going to be getting a product at a good price, but because obviously your affordability is going to be affected in the long run.
Good news for drivers. There's a 6-cent price drop at the pumps today, and even better news, it's expected to go even lower.
If we can wait until midnight tonight, it will drop yet another 6 full cents a liter down to 167.9. That number, of course, relatively speaking, is extraordinarily high, but 48 cents a liter less than what it was when it hit its all-time high back on June the 11th. So for average drivers filling up 50, 60 liters, this could be a savings of $28 to $30 a fill up.
The U.S. Weekly Petroleum Report suggests the demand for gas is below 2020 levels at the height of the pandemic. But gas experts say we could be looking at a rebound in prices by the fall. Many of us picked up a new hobby during the pandemic, like one Detroit man who combined his love of architecture and photography to create a Twitter account called Midwest Modern. He quickly found a following for his passions, garnering close to 90,000 followers. And recently, he brought his keen eye for detail to Windsor. He spoke to the CBC's Mike Evans about his recent trip.
I really initially was kind of looking at Detroit architecture, but once I started traveling and featuring other cities, I think it started to really grow at that point, which was sort of around the beginning of when the pandemic started. There wasn't really anything to do. Everything was closed down. So I'd just go to little towns or some other big cities near Detroit and just walk around taking pictures and explore. But with a place like Windsor, I sort of had like some landmarks that I wanted to see. I knew I wanted to see Walkerville, college campus there, and there were a few churches I wanted to see. So I had a little bit of a route planned out, and then finding things sort of in between that is the exciting part to me, just driving or walking around and discovering new things.
What in Windsor was a surprise to you that wasn't on your list?
So my experience with Windsor is my mother's from Toronto and I have a ton of family in Toronto. So I've only really seen Windsor as, driving through on the way to Toronto. I was really surprised how many nice little neighborhoods. I think more than a specific building, that's one thing that stood out to me.
So 90,000 followers on Twitter. What is some of the feedback you've been getting from your followers when you post these photos of Windsor's architecture?
A lot of places I go, I'll get feedback like, oh, it was really cool to see my town in a different light. I've gotten a ton of that feedback for Windsor, and I think being stuck in between Toronto and Detroit there, it's easy to get overlooked a little bit. So I'd imagine it's nice to have someone shine a light on, a positive light on Windsor.
It's so neat when somebody visits our city and then we get to experience Windsor through their eyes. Makes you appreciate it a little bit more. There's a live look outside at our Ambassador Bridge. Temperatures a tad cooler than yesterday, but still very much a hot one. We do have a chance of showers this evening. Dahlia Ashry will be here after the break with more. Stay with us. It's time for weather, and for that, we've got Dahlia Ashry joining us now. Dahlia, it's been a really weird day because we had a bit of sun, some clouds. There was like a downpour for about 10 minutes, about an hour ago. So what's going on?
Yeah, the only thing Mother Nature has been consistent with is the humidex. Besides that, it's been scattered showers, peaking sunshine here and there. But like I said, it's that humidex that's really sticking around and the risk of a thunderstorm. But there is a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. We'll get some dry conditions at Windsor soon, but we're sitting above the normal high with that humidex. So 33 degrees right now today, above the normal high, which is usually 27, the normal low 16, and right now 22. So again, that humidex is really bringing up the temperature and ramping up that heat. Windsor 25 degrees, Goderich is 23, a bit on the cooler side compared to the rest of the area. And then we have that the current humidex that we're talking about. So that's what's really ramping up that heat. As you can see, it's bringing the temperatures from mid to high 20s into the 30s and up. So that's almost 10 degrees higher just because of that humidex. So stay hydrated because you know what, that humidity, once it kicks in, you can feel really out of breath and weak. Tonight, temperatures will start to dip, but first let's talk about the rain. The precipitation activity is really kicking in here, as you can see, as the night goes forward. And then the cloud starts to dissipate a little bit as we head into Friday morning. On your way to work, you're going to see some fog, some clouds. That's probably from the rain from the night before. Friday afternoon, again, you get the scattered showers right there. You see that activity. And then things start to clear up a little bit on Friday evening. You see the clouds start to go away a bit. Saturday, we have clear skies as we head into the morning and in the afternoon. So you get to enjoy that as much as you can on Saturday. Try to make the most of it and head outdoors. Tonight, temperatures will drop. It will cool down a little bit, but the risk of the thunderstorm is still sticking around. And the temperature will cool down to 20 degrees in Windsor. And then as you can see tomorrow, again, that humidex bringing up temperatures to 38 degrees, and it will continue throughout the week, bringing it up even higher to about 40. So it's really going to be hot, but keep your umbrellas around.
Thanks so much for that, Dahlia.
Thanks, Katerina.
When we come back, we have some international news updates for you. Stay with us. Welcome back. 4 Kentucky police officers have been charged in connection with the shooting death of Breonna Taylor. The FBI has laid civil rights charges following the acquittal of 1 officer on state charges earlier this year. Taylor, a 26-year-old medical worker, was killed during a mistaken drug raid on her home 2 years ago. Officers smashed their way into her apartment just after midnight on March 13th, 2020. Her boyfriend fired 1 shot at the intruders, and Taylor was killed when the officers returned fire. It's been revealed that the search warrant used by the police was based on false information. Charges against the officers include unlawful conspiracy, use of force, and obstruction of justice. American basketball star Brittany Griner has been found guilty of drug smuggling and possession in Russia. She's been sentenced to 9 years. Griner and her lawyers had asked for leniency. They argued that she had not acted with intent, that she had accidentally brought her prescription cannabis with her to Russia. The court disagreed, calling it a deliberate crime. Alex Jones has been ordered to pay more than $4 million to parents of a child that was murdered at Sandy Hook. This marks the first time the InfoWars host has been held financially liable for repeatedly claiming the deadliest school shooting in U.S. history was a hoax. The Texas jury must still decide how much Jones must pay in punitive damages to the parents of another child that was killed during the attack in Newtown, Connecticut. That is it for news of the day, but we do want to end things on a lighter note. To Vancouver Island now, where a family out off the coast got a memorable visit.
I mean, are you kidding me?
What was your...
I can taste his breast is not bad.
Alexander Benyek says he was whale watching with his family when a humpback approached their boat and the whale rolled around in the water and splashed the boat with its fins. He says the whale spent roughly 60 minutes hovering around the boat before it left. That is incredible. And that is it for CBC Windsor News. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.